What you been up
Okay,
to?
well, I got four things on my list here
Okay.
from last week. And the four things are working on Sounds of Silence, which is where I am here
Yeah.
right this moment. Um, and then just kind of continuing to play through Vincent, and that's a timing thing, do
Mm-hmm.
that and all that. I've got Dear Prudence over here, and then I added in for something new a John Prine Illegal Smile.
Oh, okay.
And now the reason I added it in was I just simply I love John Prine, and Illegal Smile is frankly a song that reminds me of I don't know 40 years ago.
I was gonna say college almost or something, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty close to college. I think it's just after college.
Yeah.
But I ran across a clip of Seth Avett playing
Ah.
Illegal Smile, sitting in his doorway in wherever he lives in North Carolina or someplace.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out that he posts stuff almost every day. I didn't know this, but
Mm.
now I know this. And anyway, he's playing Illegal Smile, and he is, and the song itself structurally is pretty simple. I mean,
Sure.
I found the thing of the music and the tabs on one of those like Ultimate Guitar or something.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it's very simple. It's C, G, D seventh, and D.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And but it's got it goes from 4/4 time
Yeah.
in verse to 3/4 time in the chorus, and it's got some interesting stuff in it. But the thing that intrigued me was he's not just picking out or strumming out the chorus, um, or excuse me, the verse or the chorus, but he's sort of flat picking the whole thing, and I
Oh,
couldn't figure out what he's doing.
yeah. I'll
Uh,
check it out. Maybe we'll have time to look at that if we get through the other
okay,
stuff.
I'll tell you what. I'll say if we get to that, I copied the link onto a clipboard.
It'd be easy enough to find. That's okay. Um, the interestingly, oh, if you're also watching, if you're looking for other kind of cool, you know, sheltered things, have you seen any of John Fogerty's
Oh yes, I have.
with his kids?
Yes.
Those are really good. You know, the one where he tells a story on Who'll Stop the Rain about Woodstock and stuff. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay, so check out the Who'll Stop the Rain one because first he goes into a 5 minute story about Credence's experience at Woodstock,
Oh, okay.
and then he goes into the song and he says he actually wrote the song like right after. It sort of inspired the song because of some of the things that happened there and stuff. You know, but it was obviously a war inspired thing too and stuff. But
Yeah.
still, um, and one of my students is sent me to another thing of the Avets playing Clay Pigeons. Do you know that tune?
No, I don't know the tune.
John Prine did it. It's not a John Prine song, and the guy's name is escaping me. He had an untimely death, but he's well known in the. There was even a documentary made about him. Anyway, but those guys have a really solid finger picking style, and so there's a cool video of them playing this song "Clay Pigeons" in like a radio station that you might check out. But I'll definitely listen to what Seth is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing
Okay,
in
cool.
there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, we'll try and figure out how to get to Illegal Smile here.
okay.
So
Yeah.
let me fire
Let's hear
away on
Sounds of Silence first, since you're
Sounds of
right there.
Silence here. Let me see if I can get the time in my head here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's only one measure of that at the end before the strum, right?
Uh,
It sounded like you started to do two of the.
yeah, I did,
Yeah, yeah,
I did.
yeah. Are you looking at that, or do you have it pretty much memorized?
I have it pretty much memorized, but I found, yeah, I have it pretty much memorized because I also know that I left out
Yeah, a half a measure on the
half a
C.
measure
Yeah,
on the F part. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that the first time you play that little run on the C chord, ba da 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 da, when you play the little melody rather than just alternating, right?
yeah,
After the first one of those has another alternating C after it. Anyway, but
yeah.
you knew that. You're all over it. Good.
Yep, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got
yeah.
it.
Good. Yeah, I think you're doing everything right there. You just gotta smooth it out and get putting more miles on it now. It's in
Yeah,
everything's working great.
right. And I got through. Let me go through the. I'll go through
Oh, the strumming.
the strumming one
Sure.
after the.
Have you been trying to sing it at all? While you on the strumming part?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and trying to my one roadblock here that I try to get past every time is too many beats on the A minor. But let me see if I can
Okay.
that part out.
Okay.
Ah,
Close. Yeah.
what am I doing there? I'll go through all mine.
Yeah. That is great. And it seems like you have a really yeah, you got all the right numbers of beats and everything in there, and
Yeah,
yeah. One suggestion. Now this is just in general because you could still get to the Fs a little smoother. And what's happening is whatever you're coming from. Usually it's C, I guess in this case.
yeah,
You end up with this. The bar always still looks a little curved, like a little like this.
yeah,
And as you start reaching for it, then you realize you have to lower your wrist to get it closer to straighter. So what you got to do is lower your wrist much sooner. Like before you go to F, think about getting your wrist down and getting that bar really straight. It doesn't look like that when you put it on. It looks a little bit more like this.
yeah,
Okay, and it's because your wrist is still just a little too high on the see where mine is right here. Oh, you can barely see it. I didn't have a good angle there. But so if I'm going from C, let me change my camera a little bit here. Okay, so on a C, my wrist is not. Yeah, it's about like that. It's not really. You can't make a bar from there if you leave your wrist right there. Okay, and so you really have to commit to dropping it an inch. And, yeah. And then making sure that the bar is, it still doesn't look like the bar is quite parallel to the fret. Like the bottom part,
yeah.
that looks a little bit better. But anyway, I think that would be the big thing on all your bar chords. Think about dropping your wrist first before you start moving that finger there.
Okay.
There, that was better. Yeah. Whoops, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Good. Good. Yeah. All right.
Let's see. While I'm in this tuning here, try to keep track of all these pieces of paper. Don McLean. Going to do through the chorus on the first page here.
Okay. Hey, you didn't happen to see him on Dan Rather last night, did you?
Oh no, I didn't.
Dan has this show called The Big Interview, right?
Yeah.
And they about 3 or 4 weeks ago they started the new season, and he does like 6 of them, and that's the whole season, right?
Right.
Like early in, I forget who it was first, but the first few had been really interesting. One was Robbie Robertson of the band, and last week was the one I was really looking for. Oh, and then the week after was Don Felder of the Eagles, and then last week was Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. And every time anytime I see Ian Anderson talk, he's just captivating. He's so intelligent and so well spoken and stuff. It's just a joy to hear him. To hear him talk about anything. But anyway, Don McLean was on last night, so see if you can track it down. I'm not sure. They don't have like an on-demand thing. It's Access, right? Oh, you know about the show, but yeah. And so I don't think they have stuff on demand. But try to see scout it out if you can.
I'll search it. Yeah, they tend to repeat those things.
Yeah.
A cycle of those things. Before.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I will. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, let's hear what you got going here.
Okay. Gotta.
Yeah, recalibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I gotta totally recalibrate here. Okay, I gotta start over here. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it definitely takes a little while to kind of warm up these things.
Yeah.
No problem.
That was pretty rough.
That's okay. Have you gone a little further?
I've gone. I didn't open the page up here.
Okay, because there's like 4 more measures in the chorus, right?
Right. There's 4 more measures, and I misplaced those 4.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere. There they are. Okay. Yeah, the 4 more measures in the chorus. Okay, I'm just going to go through the chorus here. Just let me play through the chorus. Ace. I'm sorry.
Right. Right. Yeah, then you're off into the next verse.
Yeah, that's what it is.
A couple quick things quick. The A7, take it back from the A7, okay? Because the next chord after this, I think, is not really A minor. You don't need to put an A minor. It's A minor 7. I think what you just did there was you put on A minor, and then you took a finger off because you needed that string open later, right?
Yes.
So it's just straight to A minor 7. It's an easier, you don't have to worry about planting the A minor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Corrected. Okay.
Yeah, that's an easy change too. The last measure, the G, that measure is a little tricky, right? Because you've got the when the melody kind of starts descending, the high notes from G to F sharp to E to D. Try that again.
Yeah. So we're here. It's
Isn't that open? Doesn't it go open right there on the high string?
after it. Oh.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you hear this descent from the bum, 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 and then da 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 da, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so little thing. I mean, it's easy to overlook little things like that. There's a lot of numbers on that page, I know. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I am on that.
Okay, couple little things about the first part. There's one measure that you're playing one too many eighth notes in. It's a measure of G at the beginning of the fourth or fifth measure of the verse. Take it from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you didn't do it right there. So that was good. So the other two little things, one of them you corrected there already, and that is when you're going from the D7 to the G, right? You need that G. Oh, so just before you go to the G in the bass, from the D7, right? The last note on the D7 is the high G, right? And I'm not sure if you did this or not, but make sure that take the whole D7 chord off before you put that finger down. Don't try to, and I'm not sure, I don't remember what you did here, but it's like you don't want to put this down and still have these there and hit it and then start moving to the G.
Okay.
So at that one, if we took a snapshot of what your hand looked like is just before the G in the bass, it'd be this. This is on and these are already heading there.
Got it.
Okay? And then one other little transitional note, when it goes from the A minor, about 2 or 3 measures before, when it goes from the A minor to the C, notice the last note on the measure of A minor is open. So you're not moving to the C soon enough. It's open because that finger is already on its way to C, right? So make sure that comes out open, because it also, the advantage to playing it open, we've talked about this before, is that note, it continues to ring now into the next measure, so it bridges the gap that
Right.
Yeah.
The look ahead anticipation.
Right. Yeah.
That's a general theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely coming along. So same kind of thing, just a few more miles on it,
Yeah, it needs some more miles on it. yeah. Um, but it's that's what this is one of those things where actually I have a lot more of that memorized than it would appear to you listening to that just now.
Mm.
And I think it's if I sing it in my head as I'm playing it at a tempo that I can play it at,
Uh-huh.
then all of the anticipation appears to come more naturally.
Ah,
So
yeah,
I
good.
know I'm going somewhere, so I try to go there. It's interesting. So
Yeah.
this is also the every time I do this, I um, on a lesson or something, I'm humbled by the notion that people play for other people professional. I mean, really, it's just to me, it's just amazing that people can do that. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a certain or a range of mindsets that different people have, and for some it's I've played with Al Stewart a few times, and and Keola Beamer. These are like two completely different guys on stage. And Keola, I don't know if you know too much about Keola or slack key guitar or Hawaiian music, but things just have to be absolutely perfect. I mean, he wants to rehearse everything and make sure that and the whole set is even or timed down to the second. I'm going to talk for 45 seconds here about Hawaiians and eating. I mean, this is like he's got a script, in laid out, and if something anyway and doesn't adapt well to things not happening. Al Stewart, who I thought before I got to meet him and play with him, he just seemed like a stuffy English guy, very prim and proper and things like that. And once I got on stage with him, and a couple times he's so loose, it's ridiculous. It's, people will shout out names of songs from 40 years ago that he can barely remember, and he'll just derail his whole set and try to play it in front of 500 people, and he doesn't care. It's like he just, or it's not, it's a great part of his whole personality on stage. I mean, he'll say, "Hey, I can't remember these words. What are they? Remind me of the first words or something." And so whoever called out for the song would have to help him. So anyway, and then last part of this story, I just did a lesson on a song that Elton John made famous called "Love Song." That was a guitar playing song. Do you remember it from Tumbleweed Connection? It was written by, it's one of the few covers, it wasn't even a cover, it was the first release, I think, of this, but written by an English singer-songwriter named Leslie Duncan, and she played the guitar and sang harmony on it on Elton's recording. But so I was reading up a little bit on her to have some of the history when I did the lesson on the song. And she basically didn't have a career because of almost terminal stage fright. It's like just couldn't get up in front of people and play. And you hear this about other performers who you would never know. Carly Simon, Barbara Streisand, these are people that were terrified to be on stage. But, they've got some videos of them doing stuff and you would almost never know.
Wow.
So.
Wow. But there must be some common, the notion that you can know and remember absolutely everything in the song. I mean, it's automatic. You're not seeing the music. I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe you're seeing the music in your head as you're playing, or you just simply know the song, or yeah.
No, you know what? For like Don McLean playing this song, he's hearing it completely. I mean, it's not like he may not play it the same way every time. He doesn't have to. He just follows the chord progression and remembers specific little licks and things. Now, of course, he's played it 10,000 times, but that's how it is for most musicians too. Like they're. If you ask me to write out the chords for some song, a lot of times I'll just grab a piece of paper and write them down. And it might appear that I've got this photographic memory or something of how do you remember that? I don't. I'm figuring it out right now in my head. I remember it's in the key of G, and so it had to go from G to B minor, then to E minor. It's like, it's hearing it. It's understanding the theory and the hearing of it and stuff like that. And the more of that you have, the easier it is to not only remember stuff, but then to resurrect it, 3 years later. It's like it doesn't matter if I can't remember the song because I'll figure it out again, and it'll appear that I just have it completely memorized because it's it's that quick. But it's so anyway, yeah.
I mean, I understand that. I mean, I know the value now of. I mean, sometimes I can think of like the John Prine thing, the illegal smile thing.
Yeah.
That I I could figure out the chords. Well, I watched Seth Avett do it, so you sort of know what I
Yeah.
could see that. But I knew that, but I did know that he was playing 1, 4, and 5
Yeah.
of the key. I could see, I could sort of see that. And so
Right.
I guess I could anticipate what was going to happen next and
Hmm.
all. So, like in a very, rudimentary sense, I do understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it's like golfers. If you ask Jack Nicklaus, why did you shoot at the 1962 PGA? He could probably tell you every single shot, but
Right.
he literally could walk it around in his mind.
Yeah.
I hit a 7 iron and
Yeah.
2 shots. So literally, those guys, it's just amazing to me that they can do that.
Yeah. Back
And,
when I was in my early 20s, I had my good friend John Dimmick, who was a great classical guitar player. We'd spent a lot of nights, we go hang out in bars and play. Sometimes we'd get to be guest spots on whoever was playing there, and then after that we'd go play chess like till 4 o'clock in the morning at coffee shops or something, right? And he was fabulous. And a lot of times I just couldn't hang with him. It's like, I gotta go. I'm going home, John. And the next afternoon he might come by, and he'd play through the 5 games he had played that night. Right? He'd show me the whole games, all 5 of them, or something. It's like, oh, you got to see what happened when I played that old guy Mark.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so my last nostalgia thing before I tried Dear Prudence here,
Okay,
is that that just reminded me when you said playing in bars and all. 'Cause I think you're younger than me.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And when I was in my working in the steakhouse phase of my life, and bartending and all that kind of stuff, which would have been late college-ish, after college. So this would have been in the early 70s. So I worked for a couple of guys for a while that also had a place in, I think it was I think it's technically San Jose. Anyway, the Loft.
Oh,
Joe Gannon.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
That was near Town and Country Village or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right near the Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
See that, and he remained like on the scene. He was one of those guys. He's sitting playing, James Taylor songs and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And I remember he was quite good, and
Yeah.
ended up doing that for the rest of his life, I think, up in
Wow.
or something. So
Yeah.
crazy.
The guy who let me and John get up and play was named Joe Ferrara. So he was another one of those guys on that sort of local bar circuit,
Oh yeah.
And we played at the Grog and Sirloin in Los Gatos. Remember, it was at the corner of right at the corner of Santa Cruz and Saratoga. It's now Double D's, but it was, yeah. So the Grog and Sirloin was a famous Los Gatos watering hole, and I know I was in there playing with those guys before I was 21, because I was hanging with them, and the bartenders all knew I was a good enough musician. I had to be older than 21 or something, So, but yeah, so it was anyway. Okay, let's see what's happening with Dear Prudence.
That's funny. Yeah, we gotta do the electronic assist here. Okay, Dear Prudence. This is I really enjoy trying this.
Uh-huh.
It's such a every once in a while I kind of get it all together, and it actually happens. But we'll see if this is one of those times.
Hang on a second. Make sure to do those pinches with your third finger on your right hand. The first pinch. You're using your second all the time, and it's making you be inconsistent with the rest of the notes, because you're not. Sometimes that finger's getting. Anyway, it's so you're not. Your right hand's not in the right position.
Got it. Okay. That's where we want to be.
Yeah. Good. Make sure those pinches. Wait. Make sure those pinches are always the fifth string in the bass.
Yeah.
Right. You're getting that reversed a little bit now too.
Yeah.
There.
For whatever reason, I cannot do that transition.
Too far. Too far. Fourth fret.
I forget what it is.
That's the end of that section. I think then it goes right back to the D stuff.
Back to here.
Yeah. Stay on just a D chord for a second, just a regular D, and you can finger it even the normal way. I mean, you could just play it as a regular D. Don't even worry about having your little finger where you have it.
Oh, okay.
All I want you to just think about your right hand and not even think about your left hand here. The more you're thinking about the chords down there, the less consistent your right hand is. And two big things happen. Either not getting to the sixth string in the bass, or your second finger doesn't get the note at the end that, the last finger you play should always be the second string. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay.
just do the pattern a couple times on that chord.
Okay. Okay.
No. Yeah. Need to put some more time in on just doing that without thinking about any chord changes at all. It has to get more automatic so that you're just more consistent with that exact sequence of strings.
Okay.
Anyway, that seems to be the biggest obstacle here. Your left hand, you're doing fine getting through those chords. Notice when you have the one that goes up the neck, right? Right. It does that 4 or 5 times, right? Before it drops down to here, and of course I think you notice this, but this little shape you have here is the exact same thing that happens back here. You just have to get the other 2 fingers down, right?
Yeah.
So just make sure that this doesn't like disassemble on the way down like that. It's like so as you're sliding it down, you want to try to be moving these fingers in, and you really only need you could put these 2 down kind of one at a time. Because except when that goes down, the other part, right? It's like you could start playing right now and then you worry about that.
Right.
So, then you got to put your little finger in though right after it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then finish that pattern. So again, that one does. You don't go to the sixth string on this one.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's right.
Right, and then you slide it up 3 frets. One more, one more. And it might have 2 measures of that chord. I can't remember whether it might stay there for 2 measures. Does it or not? That's the G chord, right? We've got F to A flat to G.
Yeah. 2.
Okay, yeah, because it has to be balanced. It needs to be like a block of 4 measures.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right hand pattern. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that looks like it's coming along too.
Yeah, I gotta just continue to work on that. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so tell me about Illegal Smile.
Okay. Okay, G, D, and C.
Let me dig up Seth playing this real quick, just to.
But like, while you're doing that, I'll get myself back to. I can quickly send you the link.
There we go. Okay, something was just going slow here. I think I got it. Yeah.
Okay. This got sent anyway.
When I woke up this morning, things were looking bad. Seemed like total silence was the only friend I had. A bowl of oatmeal tried to stare me down and won, and it was 12 o'clock before I realized I was having no fun. But fortunately, I have the key to escape reality, and you may see me tonight.
Okay. What do you got so far on that?
Well, I mean, I'm just basically playing the chords. I mean, I can play through the let's see. Yeah. Oop, missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things first of all, he's capoed up to the 5th fret.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and that changes the whole tone of the guitar a little bit. Not important for, like if it's comfortable for you to sing it in that key, let's just leave it there. But what he is doing, he's doing what a lot of times I would call focused picking, where he's only hitting 1 or 2 strings with every stroke, not strumming the whole thing. It almost sounds like finger picking, right? Because you hear these notes come out. And so if you think about a normal or a real standard folk type strum would sound like this. Down, down, up, down, up. The kind of critical or unique characteristic in that is that you're not hitting anything on the third beat. It's, so the third beat, you've got an up on the end of 2, and the next thing's the up on the end of 3. And it gives it this syncopated feel. Whereas typically in a country song, you would be doing something like, that's what you might do in many John Prine songs. And what Seth is doing there is almost that same strumming pattern, but kind of starting with a bass note on the first down, or the bass vicinity, and then the middle strings on the second down, and then the first up is the highest note. So that high note really cuts through everything on the and of 2. So if you just think about those first 3 strokes and make work on the first one being a bass note or a couple, it doesn't have to be real crisp. Just aim for like 1 or 2 strings on the 6th and 5th strings, then aim for the middle strings on the next down, and then catch the first string on the up. Just the first string. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, and the rest of it is just kind of filler. The rest of it is just like soft strums in the middle, or you can still be more specific and aim for 1 or 2 strings. But see, I think just light strumming in the middle, like don't hit the high note again, so that high note you hit on the and of 2 rings for the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, did you feel how that one time you broke the rhythm and did the last three strokes upside down, and then you fixed it right away? Okay, because that's the key to anything you're strumming is making sure that this never changes speed or stops or hesitates, and so. If you kind of like apply that strum all the way through the song to for every chord, when you get to the D7, now you're going to aim like for the middle strings on the D or D7. It doesn't, it's virtually. And one thing Seth did at one point was he played a C here and then moved it up to a D7 out of a C shape. I'll come back to that. It's not really too important for now because I think this is going to be more of a right hand exercise. We don't need to get too fancy with the chords yet. It's kind of like we were just talking about in Dear Prudence. You got your left hand's doing okay. We got to really solidify your right hand. Same story with this idea of strumming, this focused strumming idea. So again, it's not going to sound like this. There's all 6 strings on every stroke. It's going to sound like this. And see, that high note becomes a really central point of the whole thing, that you hear that high note always at that same rhythmic spot on the and of 2.
Right.
Relating to something we talked about a little while ago, here's a tune that does that even more focused. Just that, John Fogerty got a lot of mileage out of that, and just really emphasizing that high note and then having a little connecting bass note between G and E minor. Anyhow, but that's the strategy here, I think.
Okay, and when it goes to the 3/4 in the chorus?
Yeah, now you just strum it like a waltz. So now I would go into now hit the bass note really clean and just strum. See me today with an illegal smile. Don't cost very much, but it lasts a long. Oh, now here you could do something kind of cool. But if you make the basic strum bass down down, but with a little hint of an up at the end. So that really lays out the 3/4 feel real strongly. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, and this is a good place to put in a little bass run too, heading up to the C from the G. Something like this, right? See me today with an illegal smile. Don't cost very much, but it lasts a long while. Won't you please tell the man I didn't kill anyone? Just trying to have me some fun. So that would be heading to the C after you've already been to the D7 one time. But you can hear where that's that second measure of G heading to C.
Okay.
Right? And you just walk. Try that once. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep. I know what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. 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 I would make all the D's D7s.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Seth probably was. I wasn't paying that much attention to like every one, but I think hearing John's version in my head, it seems like yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think we talked about that, but the D is of course chord 5 in this key.
Yes.
Right? And that's where you can always play a 7th chord. Matter of fact, it's the only place you can play a 7th chord in the key. Okay, is step 5. And because of that, then step 5 is called the dominant chord in the key. Right? There's a name for all 7 steps. The first one's called the tonic, and the 5th one's called the dominant, and the rest we don't care about for now. Okay? But dominant means 5th step of the scale.
Yep.
Okay? And that chord D7 more correctly or accurately is called a dominant 7th chord to distinguish it from a major 7th chord or a minor 7th chord, right? But that common usage is when we call a chord 7, we mean dominant 7. We mean not major 7, not minor 7, not any other kind of 7, right? So it's kind of like if we just call a chord E, we know we mean E major, right? Like so it's major is understood. And when we call a chord 7, it's understood that it means dominant 7, right? And it's called dominant because it's the 5th step of the scale. So every time you're on chord 5 in any key, you can consider using the 7th chord rather than just a major chord.
Okay.
And in John Prine stuff, and the advantage, of course, is it has a lot stronger pull. There's more tension and dissonance in that chord that has to resolve than just the major chord.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would make them all D7s, and I'll listen to this again a little bit after we're done, and I'll listen to John's version too. Interesting, right after he died, I was actually next to my elliptical. I've got a Bowflex, so I kind of do some weights and stuff on that too. So it's our little outdoor gym in the other patio, and I usually put on music out there. So I thought, man, I don't remember when I last listened to that album, and in its entirety, like top to bottom, it's probably been 40 years, and so I put it on, and I was just blown away with. I forgot there are like these 8 phenomenal songs on there, and there's 3 or 4 that are like close to phenomenal. It's ridiculous the tunes on there.
Yeah, it's absolutely
So.
He was on one of those CBS This Morning interview things.
Oh,
that you can find on YouTube.
Okay.
Late in his life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was maybe a year or two ago, but it's really interesting because he talks about songwriting and what he's doing, and they visit the guitar shop, and it's very nice.
Okay.
It's a good one to watch.
Good, I'll check it out. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that tide you over for a little while.
Yep. I'll do that, and it sounds like maybe I should pull up. You were picking out Who'll Stop the Rain there, weren't you?
Yeah. That would be a good one to try, because it's again a little, just kind of focused, pretty easy strumming. And then I was talking about Who'll Stop the Rain, as you should check out the video of him doing that with his kids too.
Oh, definitely do that.
Yeah. So let's make this Who'll Stop the Rain week.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Good.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Neil.
All right. Sure. I'll send you a link to this if you want to watch any of it again, and I'll plan on seeing you next week.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. See you, Bill.